Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to come back and get to speak with you tonight. I am Sarah Fowler. I'm pretty sure most of you know me, but just to make sure, I'm going to share a few details about my background. You know, I'm a homeschool graduate, grew up in Lake County. My family farmed, and we continue to farm. We now live in Ashtabula County, and I owned my own business for 13 years. I've had the privilege of teaching small classes of adults and children in both the United States and in Mexico, doing hands-on skills and helping them to build skills to be able to run their own businesses and work themselves up out of poverty, hopefully, in Mexico. I'm happy to represent you on the State Board of Education. It was a pleasure to be elected by 59% of the vote in Portage County. That contributed to about 65% of the vote that I had overall in the district last year, running against two opponents on the ballot. I thank you for your support if you are one of the ones that voted for me. As you probably remember, District 7 encompasses all of Ashtabula, Trumbull, Geauga, and Portage counties, half of Lake County, and 3 House districts in Summit County, which is essentially Akron and surrounding areas. This is definitely the time of year that we put a lot of mileage on our vehicles. Basically, I ran on 2 things the last time, 3 really. First, I believe strongly in parental involvement and that parents have the God-given right and responsibility to direct the education of their children. I believe that means that they need to have the right to choose the best education option, regardless of what it is. I'm a strong supporter of local control of the public school system and have spent probably 95% of my time on this particular topic since getting elected. I will come back to that. The other thing that I ran on the last time was trying to find a more equitable, constitutional way of funding our public schools. And I will tell you, I've talked to many legislators about that, and I've not found the solution yet, but we've been talking. Coming back to the local control aspect, that really has been the guiding principle for most of the votes that I've made in the past 21 months since being on the State Board of Education. I have voted against, last year I voted against 11 resolutions that were coming down from the legislature because I did not feel like they supported local control and parental involvement. That made it somewhat controversial. It became very evident quickly that no party was going to be able to control my vote because it belonged to my district. And I'm very proud of that. I was proud to have the Akron Beacon Journal write a paper that, write in the paper last November, homeschooled board member puts parents and Constitution before government. And I thought that was really a great title. As you know, I've campaigned or been working on exposing certain aspects of the Common Core state standards. I've been particularly concerned about the way that the federal government has become involved in pushing a document that was written by lobbyist groups in Washington, D.C. down on the states, requiring the state essentially to give up their state autonomy, local control, and parental involvement through a voluntary grant process. So there's a lot of nuances in that. If you haven't heard one of my presentations on that, please email me or talk to me afterwards. I'd be happy to provide you further information on that. But it has been a topic that I've been very concerned about, and I most recently testified before the legislature in favor of repealing it from the state level. I would like to see us going back to where the local district can actually choose their standard and their assessment, because technically the Ohio law says that the district can choose their standard, but we have an assessment that's directly tied to the Common Core state standards, which is driving the teaching because it is tied, 50% of the child's test is tied to the teacher's evaluation. Which brings me to another thing I voted against. I voted against the OTES and the OPES, which is the Ohio Teacher Evaluation System, Ohio Principal Evaluation System, just certain parts of it, because I believe that teachers need to be accountable at a local level to the parents, the superintendents, and the local school boards that elect them. And this particular language takes it to a state level, and I believe that that's wrong. We're getting too bureaucratic. I authored a successful resolution emphasizing local control of the public school curriculum, and I have served on 3 committees, most recently being vice chair of the Operating Standards Committee, which reviews the standards for all forms of education, and I've been vice chair since June. I'd just like to make a couple of quick comments. If you have the access to Gongwer News Service, you will probably find it very interesting to read the article that they published yesterday, Public versus Private Schools Takes Scene for District 7. And I would like to comment that one of the things that the paper brings out is that my opponents all have a problem with me being homeschooled. And, you know, I think that that's one of the great things about America. We have the opportunity to be different. And I represent a minority voice on the board and a position that no one else can bring to that board in my race. Secondly, my Democrat challenger has stated that, quote, he supports the high expectations that the Common Core state standards bring. I've been researching this for 21 months, and I haven't seen the high expectations yet. Finally, I would like to share one of the other direct quotes that really infuriated me, and it said, my Democrat challenger said, quote, "My worry is not that she's the incumbent, but that she has a strong, fanatical, tiny Tea Party base, and she is able to put out giant yard signs. I have the mass support of supporters in public education. I will win if I can get the message out that we live in 2 different universes, one supporting public education and another that is really a fringe extremist position." So I would ask you to consider whether or not supporting parental rights and local control of education is really a fringe extremist position. I'm Sarah Fowler. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.